LG Velvet news leaks, release date, specs, and rumors for the LG 9 or LG G9, because apparently this would be the successor to the LG G8. Here's what LG's got cooking up for 2020. And here's a quick screenshot of the, you know, new LG Velvet that's supposedly coming out. Well, it will be coming out. There's a whole teaser for it from LG with this raindrop design on the camera here. So from like descending order from largest to smallest in size. With so many phones that are released during a given year, it only makes sense for some of them to slip between the cracks. Other companies get fiercer, prices get more competitive, and those that aren't truly amazing often get left to the wayside. And I think it's important that we do bring up these other phones, especially even ones that I don't care much for. I think one of those reasons is because now I'm kind of looking at it where in my head, I'm like, man, maybe I can buy or find a good used or even a new phone for under 500 bucks. And even if I'm not happy with the UI, because I've said it again, I've said it a lot of times, I prefer stock Android. I prefer the Pixel experience. And in my head, it gets me going, well, maybe I can start getting back into that modding world, right? That's something I used to do a lot. That's one of the reasons I switched over from my iPhone, because I owned the original iPhone. And then I switched over to a Galaxy Nexus. And I think one of those big reasons was because I started to really get into the customizing part of it. Unfortunately, that seems to have been the case for LG for the last few years. The company makes solid devices, but a handful of quirks or missteps keep them from achieving true greatness. 2020 is here, and this time around, we're expecting to see the LG Velvet, a successor to the G8 by a different name. Here's the thing, too, is when the G series, when I reported that the G series lineup, they were killing it, I thought that was it. I thought maybe they were just going to continue with their V series then, and then maybe not come out with a new G series or whatever they're calling it now, Velvet. Velvet's such a weird name for me. I mean, I guess they want to stray away and do something different instead of just giving it a letter, right? So they're calling it Velvet. Still kind of a weird name for a phone, I think. But anyway, uh so is this a year LG will finally be able to turn things around? Here's everything we know so far about the phone. So, and actually, the G8 is here, but I want to talk about that a little later. I think Android Central put this here because, they have an affiliate link. It's not 750, by the way. But anyway, so LG taking a new approach to its design. At the very beginning of January, leaked renders surfaced of what was supposedly the LG G9. The renders seem pretty credible and like they might be the real deal. Uh, and like sorry, but it ended up turning out that they were actually renders of the LG V60. Fast forward to April, LG shared official sketches of its upcoming smartphone to give us a tease of what it'll look like. So if you haven't seen this yet, I'll play it for you guys. I won't play music because of copyright, whatever. But the front of the device appears to have a display with very minimal bezels along with a slight curve on the edges. The three cameras on the back are also positioned quite differently from most other Android phones, with LG saying this is a raindrop design with the different camera sensors descending in size to mimic images of falling raindrops, ending with the LED flash at the bottom. Also present on the phone is a 3D arc design, with LG curving the display and rear panel for a symmetrical and natural in-hand feel. So let's actually take a look at this video. I like the color already offhand. I think I like this kind of color scheme. I've never owned a phone like that yet. And then again, that raindrop design with, the camera sensors or whatever. Now, I don't know if that's two sizes. I don't think it is. I think it's just, however the marketing is for it. But yeah, it doesn't look bad at all. And if you actually caught this end part here, right? Hold on. Let me pause it right here. If you see, god damn it. I just want this part to go away. Okay, well, below here where it says Qualcomm Snapdragon, it doesn't say 865. They're not touting the new LG 860, or they're not touting the new Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 chipset. That says Qualcomm Snapdragon 765G, I think. No, just 765 5G. So it's a 765 chipset, which is the same chipset that they want to put into the Pixel 5. And it looks like a lot of other phones are starting to kind of sway towards the 765 chipset over the 865. Whether that be because of price, I don't know. I'm assuming so, or they think it's going to be serviceable enough where they think that it can still be a flagship phone, but not with the highest end processor, which is actually really weird to say right now because here we have Apple releasing their iPhone SE that's going to have the fastest chipset on any phone. Okay, let's it's just something to you know, wrap your head around. So, while LG didn't mention the phone by name when it shared these sketches, that changed on April 18. On that date, LG uploaded a teaser video showing renders of the device in question, along with confirming its name as the LG Velvet. So we talked about, the video here. LG's been pretty consistent with its device branding over the years, but for 2020, that's changing. Two reports from March 27 indicated that the entire G series branding is dead for future smartphones and that LG is shifting to a naming scheme that will highlight certain features aspects of that particular device. Following this, LG confirmed that its new phone will be called Velvet. Okay, let's forget about that. We already know this. Specifications for the LG G9 or whatever it ends up being called. Is it not called the Velvet, or is that their code name for it? Or did that just all escape me right now? Anyway, but there is one tidbit worth talking about in the teaser video for the LG Velvet mentioned above. LG confirms that the phone is powered by a Qualcomm Snapdragon 765 5G processor. This is something that's also been rumored for the Google Pixel 5, indicating that multiple companies are seeing value in Qualcomm's more efficient or more affordable chipset. Are there any phones out right now with the 765 5G? I don't know. If you guys know, let me know in the chat. While some might scoff at LG for not using the highest end Snapdragon chipset available, we think this is a pretty smart move. Not only is the 765 plenty fast, but it also brings 5G connectivity to the Velvet without jacking up the price as much as the 865 would. When it comes to the display, we should also see an OLED one, as the G8 was the first phone in the G series to use an OLED panel instead of an LCD one. The Velvet is also bound to have 6 or 8 gigs of RAM, expandable storage, which is still a nice plus for people who need that extra capacity and don't want to spend a ton of money on, you know, additional internal storage. A 3.5 millimeter headphone jack with a quad DAC. Well, it says here I was going to talk about the audio quality. In a a staple of LG phones in a world that's quickly moving past the legacy port. Also, superior audio quality for a lot of people who are looking for that. The presence of a headphone jack was confirmed in that above teaser video, but the specifics of it still remain unknown. We aren't sure about Air Motion and Hand ID. I actually didn't know that the LG G8 had that hand where it measures or it looks at the veins of your hand and tries to unlock the phone that way. I think this article stated that it wasn't really consistent. Um, they call it the puzzling feature, where Air Motion and Hand ID, the former allowed you to control aspects of the phone by waving your hand over it, where the latter allowed you to unlock the G8 by having it scan the vein patterns in your hand. Interesting technology, but I don't know if that's any better than just putting a fingerprint reader on it. If you notice on this phone too, the if let me scroll back up to the top here. If you notice on this phone, there's no fingerprint reader on the back. It looks like just one camera sensor on the front. So are they going to do that hand thing, or are they going to have an in-display fingerprint reader? I don't know. Um, because I don't, yeah, maybe it's face unlock. I don't know. Okay. So, LG's always been known to try new concepts with its phones. So with these likely going the way of the Dodo, we're interested to see what takes their place. I I am all for technology and innovation and doing new things as long as they are taking the right path in doing that. For creating technology that's a gimmick to just be a gimmick, I mean, this is a controversial debate that I'm sure we can have because those kind of crazy, wacky, gimmicky ideas at first might actually turn into something really efficient later, something that might be widely adaptable in the future. Somebody takes that idea, refines it, makes it better. I get that. Again, the thing that bothers me is the fact that we as consumers have to pay that price. We pay that price in seeing if that is what is gonna, I don't know. We open up our wallets to get disappointed, and I just, that's not the way it should be. But I guess that's what reviewers are for, right? To test it out and let you know. So for the past few years, LG has announced its new G series phone at Mobile World Congress in February. It did this for the G5, G6, and G8, with the G7 being unveiled at a special event in NYC during May. This year, LG decided to shake up its release formula. While the new V series model normally launches towards the second half of the year, the LG V60 was unveiled in February before the G9/Velvet. On April 3rd, it was reported that LG will launch the Velvet on May 15th. So maybe in less than a month. In regards to price, we're hoping LG is smart about how much it asks for the phone. The LG G8 had a starting price of $850 in the US. First of all, there's no way, yeah, there's no way if it's going to cost more than $800, it can't be a Snapdragon 700 series. Even at $700, that seems like way too much for a 700 series. It's hard to pin down an exact price for the phone, but we could see something in the range of $600 to $700 in a world where it's common for phones to cost $1,000 and up. That would be a wonderful breath of fresh air. I still think that's still a little expensive for a 700 series phone.